Good morning, everyone. And thank you all for being here. There's about as many people in the ether as there are in the room. So we're talking to two different communities simultaneously. And especially I want to thank Eduardo from coming up from Southern California and helping me learn how to do the work and helping all of us learn how to do the work, the deep process of inquiry. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful retreat where we get a chance to go deep into the nature of mind, but also not ignore all those thoughts and ideas and concepts that we have going on simultaneously. So what we'd like to do now is do a little recap of the week, especially for the people who are online, and then see if we can take it another step as well. Can people hear? Yes, people can hear. All right, so we'll just continue, and then presumably, I don't think it's very important that people see how beautiful we are, but we will go ahead and just get started. So, Eduardo, do you want to begin by just talking about your experience, observations, and anything you'd like to talk about?
Sure, thank you, Hogen. My filing system, I did have a crib sheet, and so I want to report on a few of the things that I learned this week as we were sharing the work, and I'm cognizant of that. Those of you who are in the ether, I want to tell you that what we did this week is that we sat still, as we normally do in the Zendo, and we also train in allowing whatever was there to be seen fully. And sometimes what was there to be seen fully is there's a lot of spaciousness, and sometimes it's kind of remnants of incomplete experiences from our past that have kind of painful edges to them. And so the practice is to really welcome them, not like in a game of whack-a-mole when you were like punching them down, so that we can finally be peaceful over here, but like a kind of a welcoming that is far more welcoming and radical than that. Like, what if you're like the missing piece? What if you're like the child of God, the beloved, and it is because it's actually what's arising now. So the practice is one of identifying anything that would show up, and we identify it as a form of like thoughts about fears and hang-ups about past or future. So we identify these thoughts and then we put them on paper. And then we have this system of inquiry that allows us to gently, in the safety of this room or any room, to look into these things and simultaneously coexist in the space of safety here, welcoming the troubled into that space until that troubled realizes, because of the good company that it's in, that it can relax in itself and discover that its nature is the nature of the non-troubled, that welcomed it. Okay, it's like a film of soap, that would have kind of like bubbles on top of the film, and somehow this bubble gets convinced it is not made out of soap itself, and it's just like, who knows why, and well, the rest of the soap can simply just be soap, and then wait for the bubble to pop. And then the bubble, it doesn't go back to being soap. It was always soap. There was never a separation. Separation feels very painful because it can't be accomplished. So it's like trying to pull yourself out of your own self. And we can try the exercise by taking our arm with the other arm and just trying to pull it. It feels unnatural, and it can't be done. And in some sense, when I think that you are over there and I am over here, and that you did that or this, and I start resenting you for that, it feels very painful because it's me who I'm resenting. Okay, and there's this method that we practice this week basically allows us to see that what I thought you did to me didn't really happen, or at least it didn't happen in the way that I thought, and forgiveness is the result. So my teacher, Byron Katie, who's the person that I learned this technique from alongside other people that help her, she says, forgiveness is a realization that what you thought happened didn't. And that is like real, complete forgiveness, because it's like, why be upset over what actually didn't happen? So the resentment simply dissolves. The things I learned, now that there's like the context, so we identify thoughts, we question them, and using simple questions like, he said you're no good. Is it true? That would be question 1. And then you just sit and wait and see what comes. And that is like a process of really being exposed and waiting. First thing I learned about doing this process this week is about patience. And patience as the gentle inclination towards slowing down. I think sometimes we think that patience is this thing that, only, Mahatma Gandhi can do. And then we're kind of somewhere down there, with some sort of poor man's version of patience. And what about if it's just like, I'm just going to slow down here and then see what happens? So I learned that was just extraordinarily powerful. And slowing down is a lesson that I received from Josen Roshi when I gave offerings like this a couple of years ago, and I've been putting it into practice, and I vow to continue to learn the lesson of the value of slowing down even right now. Thank you. Incredibly powerful, allowing time to be a friend so that the words that anyone says can just like land, including my own words, so that they can land in my own system and that they can ripple as they will. Slowing down is something we did, and it helped us touch the timeless. How we carry the past with us, so that the past is really not in the past, it's here. We borrow the future and we bring it here. We can inhabit all of what is inside of us, and you start really feeling like, I don't know what time it is anymore, in that sense of timeless. There is also, slowing down allows us to touch into what I would call the spaciousness, in that just as I don't know what time it is anymore, I don't know what person I am anymore, because I can inhabit your world and your world and your world and befriend that world. And that's kind of like, there's a personlessness to the endeavor that we executed this week together of growing and healing. Out of this gentle inclination for slowing down, I notice that the right action kind of naturally sprouts by itself. You just start feeling it like a flower blooming. And that is the doing that just comes out of the stillness. And it is beautiful to allow it. In the world of the work of Byron Katie, we call that like the living the turnaround. And in the world of Buddhism, it's called compassion in action. The Bodhisattva vow, the vow to serve all beings, is something that we all aspire to in this path. And I have to share in closing something that Katie said in an event many years ago that really helped it land in me, and it's kind of why I'm here with you. She said, I have come to see that there is no suffering. But if you think you're suffering, then that's what's left of the suffering. And that's why I travel. That's why I'm here with you in this room.
So in reflecting on this week, reflecting on Eduardo's kindness in being here, because his kindness in being here is partly a gift of his teacher, Byron Katie, and part of that is Stephen Mitchell, her husband. And Stephen has a long history of Dharma practice, a long history of writing, investigation. And of course, both of them have people who they learn from, their families and other people around. And here we have, chosen as a seed here, and we have all this community of thousands of people who have helped build this place, and it just ripples out and ripples out and ripples out, ripples out in the back, and it will ripple out in the future. And this particular moment, if we think that something is going on, we are neglecting the entire interrelated cosmos that actually is part of this moment. So with our minds, we tend to divide the cosmos up into now and then and me and everybody else. And part of the work of both Zen practice and also this particular kind of inquiry is to see that our small, narrow view of how things are is only a narrow view. It's not wrong, but it's only a narrow view, that there's a much larger context in which everything is held. And that larger context is the growth, the calling, the evolution of wisdom. In a way, the world is one thing. There is no separation, as Eduardo was mentioning, and yet we are all individual, we all are responsible, and yet we are all called. Our heart is longing for that, to recognize, to actualize the oneness that's at our root. So it's a multifactorial process that we actually are all here. And if you think about all the places that we could be and all the things that could be happening and are happening right now, to actually be at this place is a miracle. The probability of all of this group of people online and here getting together at this time is a miracle. It's probably statistically impossible for that to happen. And so, we're all sitting here in a particular miracle. And it does not matter whether we understand it or not. It does not matter whether we know or not. It does not matter whether we are happy or sad or it is a miracle. It just is. Good, bad, right, wrong, in, out, a miracle. And so the work, as in practice, is about bringing our mind and bringing our attention into this miracle of this moment, which is arising out of nowhere, arising impossibly. And in honoring, attending to that, it changes the future because it's not separate. So this is, I feel, profound work, and we're very interested in how we can use the solid foundation of the monastery and Zen practice, and how we can also, inquiry is always a part of the Zen practice, but this particular approach to inquiry, I think, adds a little spice to it. And so we'd like to make our practice spicier, for those of you who like spice. We have a bunch of people online who, haven't heard much of this at all. And people here have been hearing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I want to see if there's anybody online or in the room who has either observations or questions, anything that will trigger Eduardo so he can expound more fully. So Raul, if you would pay attention to anybody online, either from the YouTube channel chat or from the Zoom channel and chat, and if anybody in here has anything they'd like to say, as much as we can squeeze out of Eduardo while he's here, I'm happy to try to encourage. And do we have a microphone? Is that, please race over here without hesitation. Yes, to the Venerable Shokan. Great. No gaps. Mr. No Gaps.
Maybe you already answered this while I was working with the camera, but if thoughts just come and go and arise and leave on their own, why pick at them with the work?
Well, I to begin with, I think I wouldn't use the word pick. That there is an aspect of like you're kind of meet them with understanding is what I would prefer. As I started this path because I was suffering. And I noticed that if I see the world that's created out of the things I tend to identify with, I see what causes that suffering is the identification. And how I see it is because I see how different things are when I actually just drop the story and stay in the original situation, stay in whatever was happening, like in first generation reality. So I like less suffering, so that's why, and other people might have other answers, but that one works for me. And I'm very interested to know if that answers the question.
I would say you use the word show a lot during this week.
Show?
Pick show.
Oh, let me give you another version of the answer perhaps. Imagine that you're sitting still and then a thought arises and you just like get completely interested in it because it's what arose, like when you're eating the food and the peanut butter, like the peanut butter is what arose, and now you're going to be completely interested in it. I mean, that's what your life is at that moment, that peanut butter. So when a thought arises, that's actually all there is of you. So you can touch the thought and then get to know you as that in that moment as that thought. And that intimacy, then it just leads to the next thing. So it's like when I was learning Zen, I started learning from Thich Nhat Hanh, and I had an attitude towards my Catholic upbringing, and like, oh, that's kind of like, and then Thich Nhat Hanh very directly reminds you, if you reject your Catholic roots, then you're rejecting yourself. And so I had to eat a lot of humble pie and kind of like really sit with that. So I sit with a thought like I sit with the Catholic upbringing in Koan. Thank you.
Other comments? Victoria?
So my question is about resistance, which, at the beginning of the week I was feeling quite a bit of resistance and ambivalence about the work. But now that I have spent several days doing this practice, I'm convinced of its powerful impact and healing possibility. But I notice also that I'm feeling resistance. So I'm just wondering how you work with that. Do you feel that ever?
Yeah, let me speak to that. And I'll share something that I learned from my meditation teacher, Shinzen Young. He says that he has a conjecture that we humans, when things start going very still and relaxed, it's like we think we're going to die. And we have a lot of basically fear of death. And so the unknown feels very threatening and unfamiliar. So I think that for me, part of the resistance is that I think that inquiry is going to cost me something dearly. So inquiry is going to cost me something dearly is the concept I really then question and I sit with. And that helps me with the resistance. The other thing that helps me with the resistance is to do the exercise we did here, allowing the emotion to exist without needing to fix it. So let's just be with that resistance, like what's not okay about it. And it occupies a region in space. And I just be with it as a friend is to a friend. Knowing is there. Clarity is there. Just thinking about it is not there. You just drop the thinking about it, the resistance, and just, it will transform.
So Victoria, Eduardo and I were talking about some of these workshops. We have spent a whole day or 2 days trying to work with people's resistance. It was so vocal and so obstreperous. And so I appreciate your grace in going along with the whole process and allowing it to unfold without having to have us spend a whole day dealing with it, because it resolves itself if you actually just do the process. So thank you for being graceful in that way. Anybody else?
Usually on the last day of retreat during the morning zazen, there's a talk about transitioning, which I know we did talk some about, but a lot of people at the closing circle mentioned a kind of leaving with a kind of tenderness, and I'm wondering about like specific things as we leave the monastery, as we go into a weekend, specific practices we can do to kind of help not explode with energy or not just shut down.
Wait just a moment. Let Mio answer her question first, please. What is your advice for people leaving the retreat?
Excuse me. Well, Eduardo was here only for a short time, so I would
Sorry,
like
Mio.
to first hear from Eduardo. Okay, I can say a few things if I must. Well, it seems valuable not to find a way not to drop the practice. So knowing about how to practice with other people, knowing options for that could be helpful. And we always talk about finding grounding, simple activities like doing the dishes. That's what I have to say.
How about continuing the Zen practice piece?
Sure, continue sitting zazen, that's also good. Or whatever kind of meditation or body practice. I think body practice I would really recommend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
A couple things that come to mind apart from what you have said. Body practice wholeheartedly. Anything that brings the energy down. I'm a fan of something called Hakuin soft butter method, which for those of you who don't know, you just imagine that there's this amazing healing lump of butter that has been put herbs in it that have these qualities that are healing and that are being tailored just for you. And you just put them at the top of your head. And now you just allow this butter to dissolve. And then allow the butter to go around your skull, through. And then just allow the butter to come down, down, until it just, wherever it touches, it leaves space and groundedness and solidity. And then you just allow the lower part of your body to be filled with this thing so that you're stable and connected to the ground. And love that. And you'd recognize there that there was a stability there, and we just named it and then owned it, but it was ours in the first place. So that I do a lot after a retreat when I feel very vulnerable, which I do right now. It's just not a problem. I am allowing it. Okay. And the other thing that I recommend is very basic, but just go out, spend time in nature, especially where there will be open spaces, and socialize, talk to friends, become very ordinary, and do, like, as far as the continuation of practice, have the work for breakfast. Like I sit still in the morning, zazen, and then after my zazen, I make a cup of coffee, and then as I drink my coffee, I'm doing my work. And then I go along my day. So that's basically my routine.
So the issue of continuing spiritual practice is a vital and important one. And I feel like the most foundational thing is to have a vow, to have an intention in the heart, for whatever you feel is the highest qualities, the most important elements for your life. And to articulate that vow, to put it on your mirror, and so that you have a touchstone. And so when you have that touchstone, then of course we use whatever skills, whatever opportunities we have to align ourselves with our deep vow. If we don't have a vow, if we don't really know why we're doing this, then it's just a good idea. But somehow it has to come from the heart. We can't do this alone. We cannot do this alone. We are one body. I mean, we're all connected. And so to think that we can do this alone is to reify the delusion of separation, to reify the delusion of I am unique in a very small way. So it's important to have friends, as Eduardo mentioned. It's important to have communities. It's important to have people that you work with, to have an inquiry partner, to have a Zazen partner, to have a community that you're connected with is also really important. Next, it's also very important to realize that things don't go in a linear manner. They don't just go up, 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 or down, 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 whichever direction you feel you're headed at that moment. But inevitably, indubitably, there always are ups and downs. And so as we begin walking this path, to have confidence that whether we are temporarily feeling good or feeling bad, insight or no insight, the vow is still there. The vow is still there. And the vow, I feel, is founded upon the understanding, the recognition, the faith that liberation is possible. Because why would we make a vow if we didn't really feel that liberation, awakening is possible? So we find our highest aspiration. We make a vow to align ourselves with the aspiration. We find a community to help support us with the aspiration. And then we find particular tools that will sustain us. And inquiry is from the Buddhist perspective, we talk about samatha and vipassana. We talk about calm abiding and inquiry. And so calm abiding is the Zazen piece, and inquiry is the vipassana piece. So both are part of, it takes two legs to walk normally. So all those are important. And then, of course, when doubt comes up, when hesitation, when all the klesas arise, to have the confidence and willingness to investigate them, to not keep them hidden, is also part of that process. So anything that we see is only temporary. And so we have to keep coming back to a container that allows it to be refreshed. Other comments, questions, insights? Anybody from online? Venerable Ms. Choan, Linda Frischmeyer. And Raul has something miraculous to say from the ether, too. So first we'll let Choan.
Thank you. I just want to mention something that I personally experience often. Like when I read sesshin, I do tend to have unreasonable expectations that sort of the intensity can be brought back into my life, which has never, ever happened. And with the work specifically, one thing that I find helpful when something becomes alive for me is simply writing it down. Either filling out the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet or writing it on or oftentimes I just keep a notepad and just put it there. And it seems like that's enough honoring of it that I don't have to have it take over my life at the moment that it comes up. And it's there and I can come back to it. And I found that really helpful.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, very, very good. Yeah.
Eduardo? Raul. Good. Why did he keep changing his name?
So this is from Kyle on YouTube. Kyle Stanley. Studying Muwokon recently. Could you summarize the meaning of the gateless gate?
There you go. Cheers.
Is he asking Eduardo or Hogen?
Well, I'm
Well,
asking
he
Hogen.
passed the buck to me, so yeah. So I should channel Hogen and say, Byoyo. So I'll give you basically my personal experience. It's actually all I've got. I just tell it to you exactly how it happened for me. I was doing an exercise where I was recognizing that thoughts appeared when there had been no thoughts there, and I was actually I asked the question, these thoughts appeared, and I said, can I really know that that's true? And then I immediately answered, no, I just believe they did. And that was when I crossed the gateless gate, as far as I know. And nobody has ever tested me, and who knows, right? But that was enough for me. And I don't know if that answer will satisfy our friend from the ether. And if it doesn't, come back and say more. I did this work that, I invited you to, yeah. And it's changed my life.
So just to give Chosen a chance to have her voice in the mix here, would you offer the microphone to her?
Well, once I was at an event with and he's the person who brought the practice of contemplative prayer back into Christianity, various practices. This is good Catholicism. And I asked him a question. I said, from our side, it seems like we're knocking on the door asking God to appear. But actually, from God's side, there is no door. There never has been a door. So that would be a Christian framework for the gateless gate. The Buddhist framework is there is no gate, or there are uncountable gates. So the work is one way to enter the gate to liberation. We can call the work a gate. But for Katie, it just happened because her mind was, all the circumstances were led up to this moment when her mind was completely still. And what we think is true turned inside out. And I think that openings are when we turn inside out. So instead of being this little person surrounded by everything else, it's like a glove being turned inside out. The self-glove is small, and the other, what we call the other, is infinitely big. And so there are innumerable gates everywhere, and people have awakened in millions of ways. The sound of a pebble striking bamboo at a time when this person had given up their desperate quest for liberation and was just sleeping. Or the sight of a peach blossom, or being hit by your Zen master, or you step outside the door and blow out the candle and suddenly you're immersed in darkness. And there are infinite ways because everything is potentially good if you're really, really present there.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was I very much resonate with those words, and I thought of sharing a phrase here today that speaks to that, which was sometimes we as practitioners are like waiting for the miracle to come. Like raise your hand if that's how sometimes you feel, and look around, and the miracle never comes because the miracle has already come.
Anybody else have any comments for the miracle of Eduardo sitting here? Yep, Victoria? Anything you can do to squeeze out wisdom is always a good task.
Hogan, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate that you brought in Vow, because it reminded me to remember what my vow is that I made at the beginning of Ango in the fall, which is to open myself to the nature of mind. And I think that's, no way I think that's all I need. I mean, how that takes my resistance away, to remember that vow and to live that vow. So I think I just wanted to thank you. I needed that reminder.
Thank you. And even more fundamental than that is the fact that we are alive, that this particular concatenation of presence, in a way, is the expression of the universe's vow beyond us. Anyone else? Online or in here? Rika.
Eduardo? What's your son's name? And what are a few things you love about him?
So his name is Victor Andres. Hi. And I love about him that he has this smile, like he's being completely filled in from the outside in, and so he feels like this little balloon and made out of breast milk. I like that he has that I can see Katya's face in him and my face in him, kind of like at the same time in this bizarro way, you know, like you see in terms of a mirage. And one more. He likes the sound of dangling things. Thank you.
So, Rika, what are some things you love?
About Eduardo's son?
No. in Eduardo, in Rika's life.
I love those nut bars that Anna made. I love hearing about what Eduardo loves. Make me happy. And I was picturing what he was describing, and that felt really good. And outside of little me. So I like that feeling. And when Eduardo gave the suggestion to be outside, that sparked in me lots of thoughts about places that I love that are outside.
Thank you.
Just one with the 10,000 things.
It just occurred to me after I talked about turning inside out and turning into visual representation of openings, that it corresponds to the methodical way that you turn things inside out in the work. So it's more like step by step. Let's just take one thing that's causing you suffering. Let's turn it inside out. And now let's take another thing that's causing you suffering and turn it inside out. So it has that. There's this debate between sudden and gradual.
Yeah.
But both are completely necessary. Also, some people talk at the end of the retreat about feeling kind of wobbly or disoriented. And that's a well-known phenomenon we've built this person out of bricks. You know, each of our experiences is one of those bricks. And each of our beliefs, you could say, is one of those bricks. And then in the work with Bob and Katie, as you do a worksheet, you just pull out one of those bricks. Like in the game Tetris, you very carefully slide out one brick, but you don't want the whole thing to fall down. What is it? Jenga. So, in Katie's work, you pull out one belief at a time. You very, very carefully, okay, I'm not sure I want to do this. All right. And it leaves emptiness. But then things get wobbly for a while because it's not the way it used to be. And then you dare to go back in and pull another one out. Yeah. And then eventually, which is what the resistance is at the beginning of Zen practice and the work. It's like the ego knows the jig is up and it does not want to go there. But it has to. It knows it has to. So there's that approach avoidance to this kind of thing.
Something you want to say?
A phrase that's very much related, as mind wants to rest in itself, and to the extent that it feels lost, it actually left crumbles to find its way back home. They left a trail, and that's the trail that we trace back to itself. And gentle. That's the one thing I really felt that it's so important. I've seen Katie do inquiry with someone that had a bunch of concepts and chooses one, and then there's all these other things that feel very solid, and one at a time. And it turns out to be enough. So gentle works best. That's my experience as well.
Okay, so thank you all for being here. Every retreat is not a matter of any one person. It takes, Chosen, it takes Eduardo, it takes me, it takes the cook, it takes Shokan, it takes Myoyu, it takes Anshin, it takes the accountant, it takes the people who is the receptionist, Kinyo, it takes the housekeeper, it takes everything to have this come together. It takes all of you, it takes the people online, it takes the people who are helping the people online. So anytime that we have an event like this, it's worth feeling gratitude for that whole web of support and generosity that allows something like this to happen. So thank you all for being here, and I thank you all for your practice. And I look forward to, if possible, encountering you again in some very rich and direct